Rosie O'Donnell's studio was packed, the lighting meticulous, and the air almost electric with anticipation. She had teased the interview all week in unfiltered, no-holds-barred session with Ibrahim Traoré, known for his quiet leadership and refusal to bow to Western scrutiny. Traoré's presence on an American talk show was rare, and Rosie intended to make it count. From the moment he entered, the contrast between them was stark. Ibrahim walked with the stillness of a man who had survived storms no camera had ever captured. Rosie, vibrant and loud, welcomed him with practiced enthusiasm that barely masked a pointed undertone. Cameras rolled. The audience applauded. Rosie began soft, complimenting his resilience, his role in reshaping Burkina Faso's path, but then, almost imperceptibly, she shifted. Her smile tightened as she leaned forward and asked, "But do you truly understand the complexities of global diplomacy, Mr. Traoré? I mean, with all due respect, this isn't just about heart. It's about intellect." Her voice rang with that familiar brand of liberal curiosity that often veiled deeper disbelief. The question landed heavy not for its surface, but for the implications beneath it. The crowd hushed. Traoré didn't blink. His fingers intertwined calmly on his lap. Then, he responded not with words, but with a silence that spoke louder than any rebuttal. It was the kind of pause that exposes the question, not the answer. Rosie laughed nervously, glancing at the crew, trying to smooth over the tension, but something had already shifted. The air felt different. She tried again, this time layering statistics and political jargon, but it felt forced. Ibrahim eventually spoke softly. "There is a kind of intelligence that does not demand to be understood by those unwilling to see it." That was the first crack in the facade. Social media caught it live. The clip began to circulate even before the segment ended. His tone wasn't combative. It was composed, surgical, devastating. Rosie blinked rapidly, her breath shallow for a beat too long. When the segment ended, the cameras panned wide, but the room felt small, tightened by the weight of what wasn't said. Behind the scenes, staffers whispered. The director asked quietly, "Do we cut that part from the No one answered. The moment had already escaped them. Online, the backlash was immediate and polarizing. Some defended Rosie, others replayed Traoré's words like a mantra. But behind every post, behind every replayed clip, was an undercurrent, a long history rising to the surface. Rosie didn't sleep that night. She sat with a glass of untouched water, watching the interview on her phone again and again. What bothered her wasn't just the public reaction, it was the look in Ibrahim's eyes, not anger, not superiority, just disappointment. That expression gnawed at her, forcing a confrontation with something she rarely examined. The quiet spaces were bias hides. In the days that followed, the internet dug deeper. Clips from her past surface jokes brushed off toned-up segments. Framed as bold, her defenders grew quiet. Some issued statements distancing themselves. Producers from older shows admitted anonymously that moments had been edited to protect her image. Simultaneously, attention turned to Ibrahim. His past interviews were suddenly translated, his speeches dissected, his policies analyzed by those who had once dismissed him. But instead of exposing weakness, the world saw depth. A video of him walking through a burned village, holding a child's hand, went viral. An old clip of him refusing IMF pressure with a single line, "Freedom with a price is still captivity," was reshared with new meaning. Yet it wasn't just the internet that shifted. Within Rosie's own circle, discomfort grew. Her assistant, usually silent, finally said, "I think you meant well, but that's not always enough." Rosie started to notice things differently. A security guard she passed daily no longer looked her in the eye. An old friend from her activism days sent her a single text, "We're tired." Meanwhile, Ibrahim remained silent. He declined interviews, declined to clarify. He simply continued his work, appearing at a youth literacy event in Ouagadougou, where he read aloud from a book about empathy. That clip, too, spread all without a single comment about Rosie. It was his silence that stung most. In a desperate attempt to regain footing, Rosie offered to host a follow-up, a clarification round. She called it. Her team reached out. Ibrahim's office replied with just 6 words. "The truth needs no second framing." Those words were printed and posted across activist accounts, in dorm rooms, on protest placards. It wasn't just about one interview anymore. It was about every time someone like Ibrahim was made to prove their worth in rooms designed to doubt them. The weight of that truth finally broke something in Rosie. Not publicly, quietly. She stopped speaking, stopped defending. She watched. The day of the reckoning came subtly, not with headlines, but a hearing. A former employee filed a complaint, citing racial bias in the hiring practices of Rosie's media company. Then another, then a third. None accused her of overt racism. Instead, they detailed patterns marginalized voices ignored, creative decisions altered, tones policed. The narration detailed those testimonies. A young producer who pitched a series on African innovation, only to be told it's too niche. A black writer asked to tone it down for suburban audiences. A Latina staffer whose accent was mocked during an edit meeting. The stories weren't loud, but they were damning. Rosie issued a statement. Legal, polished, empty. I have always stood for equality, but no one was listening anymore. Her words had lost weight, and Ibrahim, he still hadn't spoken. That silence became its own kind of testimony. Then came the public confrontation. Not a trial, a televised summit on media ethics, where Ibrahim was invited as a guest panelist. Rosie wasn't scheduled to attend. She appeared anyway. The room stiffened as she entered. Cameras clicked. She walked past reporters without a word. On stage, Ibrahim was mid-dancer calmly describing the dangers of narrative manipulation when he noticed her in the crowd. He paused for only a second, then continued. No acknowledgement, no dramatics. Rosie sat quietly, hands folded, expression unreadable. When it was time for questions, she stood. The room froze. Her voice trembled. How do you move forward, knowing people will always see you through their filters? The silence after her question was suffocating. Ibrahim looked at her not coldly, not kindly, just clearly. By not needing to be seen, he said, only understood by those willing to listen. Rosie sat down slowly, and for the first time, she didn't speak again. That clip became legend. The aftermath wasn't explosive. It was slow erosion. Rosie's show wasn't canceled, faded. Sponsors drifted, viewership dropped. Appearances declined, invitations stopped coming. At home, she spent more time alone. A framed headline of her past activism now felt like irony. One night, she scrolled through old photos, smiling with guests she once interrupted, laughing in moments that now felt hollow. A notification buzzed in. Open letter from Ibrahim, published anonymously, addressed to every room that feared. My voice. It wasn't angry, it was patient, reflective. It spoke of dignity, of silence, of the labor of being questioned. It ended with, we don't need your guilt, we need your humility. Rosie read it again and again. Later that year, she donated her production company's profits to a literacy fund in Burkina Faso privately. No press, no photo op, just a wire transfer and a note. Listening. Ibrahim never responded. But weeks later, she received a book in the mail, no return address. The cover read, The Weight of Silence. Inside, a single quote was underlined. Sometimes, the strongest reply is no reply at all. Rosie closed the book. She didn't cry. She just sat with it, letting the silence do what words never could. In the distance, a city blared with noise, but in that small room, everything finally made sense.